I'm the CEO of Zartis.com. Thanks a million for coming in. It's great to see all of you here. It's a real view of how good and how cosmopolitan the Dublin tech sector has become when you're talking to people from the US and Italy and Spain and Portugal, all sorts of parts of the world. So thanks very much for coming in. We've got a fantastic lineup of speakers here tonight, and the event will run for about an hour. It's 4 speeches. I'd like to thank Louisa and Laura for organising everything. They've been busy for the last couple of weeks, and Padraig also put a huge amount of work into getting this gathering. So thanks very much for coming in, and I hope you have a fantastic evening. The topic is obviously security in software. A couple of, 15 years back, that wasn't such a big thing. It meant somebody could hack your web server and take down your website and change the Fine Gael front page. And that's what we thought of when we thought about cybersecurity. It's become one of the most important things, not just in the software sector, but basically in every sector, whether it's fintech or medtech or autonomous vehicles. Every single sector is massively impacted by cybersecurity, and none know more so about that than you guys here. So I'm looking forward to some great learnings being shared with the speakers, and we hope you'll join us for networking, beers, and some food as well afterwards. So enjoy your evening, and thanks a million for coming in, and we look forward to talking to you all again later. Thank you. Thank you.
While we're getting this fired up, I'll give you a quick intro.
So
we have
Roman
from Effective Software speaking first. So Effective are a company that Zartis is partnering with. We have a nearshore development team in Madrid. The guys have been an absolute pleasure to work with over the past few months in setting up the team. And Roman is going to give us, I suppose, a description of the necessity of building secure software from the perspective of a startup. So if we have the, getting there.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Yeah, it's warming up. So it's over to you, Roman.
Yeah.
The whole Effective company has arrived now. Well done, lads.
Yeah.
Thanks, Barry.
Before I start
Demonstration of Wirecast.
getting a little cold, which means that I might sound a little bit more French than I usually do. But hopefully that will not be an issue for this presentation today. Effective Software, we, as part of our mission to transform health and safety on the workplace, we are bound to handle sensitive customer data all the time. This can be data of very high importance, such as when a worker's behavior puts someone else's safety in jeopardy, or it can be very personal, such as when an incident results in a body injury.
Demonstration of
And we're really
Wirecast.
committed to handle that data securely. But as a small company with limited resources, for example, the backend team consists of 5 software engineers and 1 operation engineer. And yeah, just working.
Security.
So with a small team and with deadlines looming one after the other, it's easy to
This
postpone
is a
security for
demonstration
later,
of
when we go
Wirecast.
bigger, when we get such and such customer, and so on and so forth. But as you would know, this is a trap. Security is a feature. Although it's interesting because it's usually not asked explicitly for, except when it's too late, when a breach has occurred. But security doesn't need, the good news is that security doesn't need to be a black hole where you pour resources with very little outcome. And when you choose the right features to develop, the right tools
This
to
is a
use and the right
demonstration
practices
of
to
Wirecast.
enforce, you can actually yield fairly effective solutions towards security and make customer data safe, I would say, to some extent. Before I get started into a few examples on how we try to achieve that effective software, I'd just like to speak a little bit of our platform, because I think it informed a few design choices we had to make along the way. We are a SaaS software. We operate a public endpoint that is available 24/7 in pretty much every place.
This is a demonstration of
Our new
Wirecast.
development focuses mostly on a system, service-oriented architecture with small pieces of functionality provided by different systems. We operate on public clouds, which is also a constraint of its own, and with a fairly dynamic settings. Our machines are deployed in a weekly basis, and usually live never longer than 2 or 3 weeks. So this is a fairly high-level overview, but I think it will inform a little bit the example I present today.
This is a demonstration
I'd
of
like to first talk
Wirecast.
about parsing inputs. I think validating input is one of the most commonly given advice of security, but usually this advice is falling short of telling you how exactly to parse inputs. And here I'll present a technique to do the parsing. And my example to present the technique will be the kind of user identifier, the JIT. A JIT looks a little bit like a funky email address. There is a username, a domain, and a resource. The resource is very
This
useful
is a
to know if
demonstration
you're
of
running
Wirecast.
or in platform. If you look around on the internet to find libraries that provide this kind of parsing, you might find something like that. This is a public library from a professional outdoor specialized in XMPP. I hope the okay, I was just getting so this is a professional vendor library. And what this library does is typically to look for a few characters.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Subslicing the string with 3 parts and returning it. Now this is mostly correct, completely but mostly correct. But from a security perspective, this is actually fairly bad because we do not check anything else than those characters. And we basically assume that the input is correct. So this is a good example to say we need a more structured approach to our parsing. And the approach I will present is actually not mine, but if anyone knows about this book in the audience,
This is a
this is a
demonstration
Dragon
of
Book
Wirecast.
This is compiler theory. It's actually like it because we own a copy. One interesting tidbit is that this book is printed in 1977. This is my older brother by a good couple of years. So this is hardly new, what I'm talking about. And much more importantly, the techniques in describing this book comport a lot of optimization that was necessary in the hardware of the 1980s, which nowadays are completely irrelevant. And one can easily
This is a
write
demonstration
software
of
that follows the
Wirecast.
grammar expected of the input. I'm talking about grammar here. I'm talking about a formal way of describing the inputs. And usually you don't really have that in software. The definition is much more free style. And writing a grammar is not an easy task. It's actually surprisingly tricky to get right. So this is an occasion where usually I encourage software engineers to borrow and steal as much as possible. In our case, the GIDs are completely described in a
This is a
RFC
demonstration of
specification,
Wirecast.
in this case RFC 6722. So it's very easy for us to just dutifully follow the specification implementing the parser. So let me present here a solution, a possible parser for JITs. This is actually our production code part to do that. The parser will start by actually listing rules, which is a fancy name for characters, that are not valid. This is what's completely absent in the previous code. And you might hear
This is a
the reference to the
demonstration of
specification,
Wirecast.
just to provide more context about where this is coming from. Second thing we look for is the maximum length of the input. And security people will know this is a very common way of hacking into a system to actually try to overflow whatever length you have. But we actually take all that. Then there is basically the only thing that is in common with the previous code. And then once we have the three subslices, we delegate the parsing to specific functions that will look for the resource or the
This
domain.
is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Because for the sake of this example, it does show the technique of going down into specific bytes, specific bits and parsing bits, but I didn't show everything. And for example, we didn't talk about handling actually the evade characters. They're not checked because they're checking the sub-functions. We didn't check about Punycode. Punycode is a way to encode non-English character over an English medium, and that's very useful if you have customers that are in different countries. or things such as domain
This is a
whitelisting.
demonstration
It
of
could basically be a
Wirecast.
valid user identifier, but not one of our customer, in which case we can just drop the request. This is more code, definitely, and this is arguably a little bit boring code to write. But this code can be tested, put in a library, and checked at the edge of your system. Afterwards, the data structure can just travel around between servers, and one never has to check that again. So by putting that explicitly in front, we
This
just
is
create
a
a very, very
demonstration
hard
of
interface
Wirecast.
to the system for inputs. And if you apply that for every type of inputs, there come security findings. There are other techniques, of course, for parsing, depending on what you can do. The very interesting paper this year was called Writing a Parser Like It's 2017, and introduces a non-specific domain language called NOM. For that, another language came actually today, I think, called PUFs, which is also about writing parsers. And they are very, very good for specialized use cases if you have high-performance parsing.
This is a
on
demonstration
your
of
device or
Wirecast.
within media. But this is actually good enough for most of our users. For my second topic, I'd like to talk about secrets. For the sake of this presentation, secrets is everything that you need to talk securely between systems and software. There are things such as the username and password to database, the SSL certificates to talk securely between two systems. And in a traditional settings, those secrets are put by the operation
This is
engineer
a demonstration
in
of
a system, in a
Wirecast.
service configuration file, typically, loaded at the start of the application. And while it works fairly well, there are, I think, two limitations in security. First of all, because this file is going to be used throughout the lifetime of the application, the capacities in the secret have to be large. If your application ever touches the customer table and the payment table, even if it's at very different times, both capabilities have to be put in the token. So the set of capabilities is large.
This
Also,
is a
because
demonstration
this is
of
going to happen to the
Wirecast.
entire lifetime of the application, the token needs to be valid for a long time, typically in the order of months. I think the payment industry requires a password valid for up to 3 months, so we do talk about a month as a limit. And there is, I think, a good solution here, which is called dynamic secret management, where we apply something a little bit different. I will show an example using the HashiCorp Vault software. Before I do that, I have no interest whatsoever in HashiCorp, but it's actually a software that figured out.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So let's see how a secure dynamic system would work. Let's say I have an application you want to connect to a database. Well, you don't connect directly to the database. You first authenticate through a Vault server. The Vault server will check that you're allowed to perform this. We'll create a user on the fly in the database, matching a specific template. We'll return this user to you. The user is usually valid for only a couple of minutes. And then we'll also log the access. How does it help us? Well, first of all,
This is a
the
demonstration of
user can wait for a couple of
Wirecast.
minutes. It's fine, the application can ask again for a new user if it needs new access a couple of minutes later. But also, the user can be tailored to the current use case of the application. If at this time the application is handling a payment process and just need to touch the payment table, then the only permission it needs is the payment table. And the token is very restricted in the capabilities it has. So even if an attacker is able to extract a token from an application using, say, a buffer
This is a demonstration of
Hadley,
Wirecast.
or because we are in public cloud, using plugging the hypervisor and reading our memory, the token it has is only going to be valid for a very short period of time and can do very, very limited damages to our database. This is the same principle, of course, for SSL certificate. So an interesting problem that's come here, of course, is how do you authenticate the first time with the Vault? You do need to bootstrap the system. And here there is a fairly good
This is a
solution.
demonstration
With
of
public clouds,
Wirecast.
because most public clouds will maintain a public metadata service, storing everything about the instances running. In our case, we use Amazon Web Services. And there is a mutual authentication using this trusted third party to initiate the whole boot process. So it can be completely automated and dynamic. If you're interested in that topic, it's been very well presented this year at LISA conference by Netflix, because they use the same system actually. tools and
This is a
softwares are really
demonstration
part
of
of security
Wirecast.
the platform, but security professional will tell you this is not the entire story. We also have to talk about management, trainings provided to people in the team, audits performed on third-party libraries that we incorporate in our code base, and documents such as security policy that we have to maintain up to date. And if you want to start using a specific system to actually deal with this security, I'm sure there are some very good solutions around it. But we hardly usually have the money, or more importantly, the time
This is a
to actually get to
demonstration
know
of
the systems and
Wirecast.
implement them correctly. It's just too much a barrier to start with. So at Effective, we're trying to work around that by using our own platform to store our own health and safety platform to store our security data. Just a couple of examples here. We use our own platform to store our documents. This is our security policies and a few advice we give. Over here, where we use our audit module to actually perform code audits. And
This
it's true
is a
that we're
demonstration
kind of
of
lucky because our
Wirecast.
system has a fairly good match between the domain where we're operating, the health and safety domain, and security. But more importantly, I'm pretty sure that wherever you are, there is a system today that has a good match that is good enough to get started. Thus, it shouldn't be a barrier to get started using security and actually enforcing secure practices. Since I'm getting at the end of my allocated time, I have to conclude. I hope you
This
found
is a
those
demonstration
examples
of
interesting.
Wirecast.
But much more importantly, that they help carry the idea that when designed upfront, security can be really effective and result in some fairly nice stories. I want to thank you very much for your time, and I don't know if you have any questions.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Thank you very much. That was excellent. So next up we have Alex from from Storm. So Alex is a Portuguese national who's been living in Ireland for the last 6 years. He's going to share some insights with us about from the perspective of a consulting company. So I'll give it over to you, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So, hi everyone. So, as Park mentioned, I'm Alex. I moved to Ireland 6 years ago. I've been working on the digital, in this case, in the digital workplace, with Microsoft solutions for the last 10 years. So mostly around building intranets, building document management systems, workflows, and so on. So today I'll be giving you a slightly different perspective on security,
This is a
which is on your
demonstration of
day-to-day.
Wirecast.
What are the challenges that we are seeing as our workplace changes completely, and as our world is changing completely in the way technology is changing how companies work. I'm very passionate about digital transformation, very passionate about how technology can help us live better, work better, and can make us a better society as well. Satya said recently, no, the nature of work is changing.
This
It's no longer
demonstration
about
of
routine
Wirecast.
tasks. And also today I'll be talking a little bit about our modern workplace and what security in the modern workplace might be. But it's important to see that historically, when we said our digital workplace, we thought about Word, Excel. Nowadays, it's much more than that. In a recent Microsoft conference, I was seeing how Ford, the automaker, was using HoloLens, augmented reality, and a product called Microsoft Teams, similar to Slack, to actually, instead of having to build play models of
This
their
is a
cars,
demonstration
having
of
to
Wirecast.
carry them across their various facilities, to think about how their next car would look like, how they use the augmented reality to collaborate across multiple locations on building their next car. And this, one of the other elements, one of the other thought leaders in this space is Gartner. And one thing I found very interesting about their approach and about how they're seeing business evolving is how they've put 4 core pillars.
So the customers, the
This
partners,
is
the
a
employees, and
demonstration of
things,
Wirecast.
and how they see information systems going across all these elements, and how they see the ecosystem of our companies, our workplace, expanding ever more. So one of the, I was in a recent conference in London, and one of the things they kept saying was, in 2 to 3 years, if your organization doesn't open to the outside world, doesn't start creating ecosystems and being part of ecosystems with other companies, that together you add more
This
value
is
to
a
the customer,
demonstration of
you
Wirecast.
ultimately become irrelevant. You know, one of the examples they used was how Amazon was delivering through one of the delivery companies to people partnering with Audi in Germany. So you'd have a one-time code for the person delivering your package to have access to the booth of your car. So they had a problem, which was, how can we deliver more efficiently, not requiring people, to go somewhere to pick up their package.
This is a
So they partner with
demonstration of
Audi and a
Wirecast.
delivery company, DHL in this example. They've expanded their ecosystem to make the life easier to the customer in this case. So I don't really care when the package is going to be delivered. One day I'm going to get notified on my mobile. The delivery guy will have access to your booth today, and he's going to drop the package to you. Just today, we're going to track where your car is, so that the guy delivering it can go there and deliver it. So when we think about our workplace then and our information systems,
This is a
they need to
demonstration
start
of
including our partners
Wirecast.
and our customers more than they have in the past. A big topic that scares all the IT people straight away is shadow IT. And I really agree with there was a few articles from TechCrunch where it said it's time not to fear shadow IT, not to become the department of no IT, but really embracing it, because more often than not, or most of the time, the business people
This
just
is a
want to get
demonstration
things
of
done.
Wirecast.
They're not sharing files using their Dropbox account or doing whatever because they don't have a valid reason. Now they have a specific challenge they want to solve, and they just want to get it done. There was a very interesting, just three weeks ago, very interesting articles on the journal.ie, because there was a study in the health sector, in the hospitals, in a particular hospital, and they realized that 97% of the
This
doctors
is a
were
demonstration
actually
of
using WhatsApp
Wirecast.
to share sensitive information about their patients. So obviously, and actually in that survey, and this was very interesting, they had actually conflicting views, because I think around 60 to 70% actually thought that was wrong. But still they needed it done, because they wanted to provide the best care for their patients, and they wanted to get the information across quickly. So this is where our digital workplace, our modern workplace needs to step up. And this is where
This
information
is a
sharing, I believe,
demonstration of
can play a part
Wirecast.
in bringing your customers and bringing your partners along in your journey and into your collaboration spaces. So we'll briefly look 5 major business scenarios on when you want to share information. Most of the times when we've all used Google, we've all used Google Docs and all that. Sometimes you just want to do a simple sharing. You have a document, no sensitive information, you just want to share it. Lots of times within your organization
This
you want to
is a
share it internally, so
demonstration
you've
of
been working
Wirecast.
on a document, OneDrive for business, or your own box, or Dropbox for business, whatever it is, and you just want to share it with another colleague, because now that document become a little bit more important. Lots of times you want to do secure sharing, so you have some level of secure information, sensitive information, that you want to get out to one of your external partners. Maybe it's a lawyer firm you're working on some contracts with, and I think we've all experienced the pain of going back and forth documents, having
This
to
is a
merge changes,
demonstration
working
of
collaboratively
Wirecast.
with a lot of people. So there's better ways to do that. Historically, you would have to set up an extranet, all the setup required with that, an investment. But nowadays, the tools enable this to be done a lot more securely and a lot better. And obviously, sometimes someone is not finding a particular document; they just want a link to it, so you just want to share a link. And other times, you actually want to bring someone along to your group, because maybe they're a vendor, a subcontractor, and you actually want to bring him into your
This is
collaboration
a
so
demonstration
that
of
you work together
Wirecast.
on a particular project, and there isn't this divide between the vendor and the internal team. So everyone's working together, serving the same customer, and you want to bring them along. Very importantly, you have to think about 4 core topics: how to manage, particularly external sharing, because once you start thinking about external sharing, we have to think that we have to be considerate of how sensitive that information is and where it goes.
This is
So
a
when
demonstration of
you need to think about
Wirecast.
who can share it. Can everyone in the organization just first day and are they able to share everything they can to whatever, to their own personal address, or do you want just specific people to be able to share that information across? What can be shared? Some certain groups, certain information might be okay to share it, while other information might be really sensitive. The strategy for your company, so you don't want it to go going anywhere. Which
This
external
is a
users?
demonstration
So
of
maybe there's a
Wirecast.
particular vendor you're working with, so you want to white label their domain, while other companies maybe they're competitors, you're just working on a particular very reduced scope with them, so you don't want to allow them in. And actually how you do that sharing is very important as well. So regardless of what system you're using, those are the 4 core questions that you should be asking yourself when you're setting your governance around external sharing of information. We work a lot in Storm with SharePoint and
This is
with
a
Microsoft
demonstration
Teams and
of
with
Wirecast.
Microsoft products. But you see, it's about what are the services that you're looking for and what kind of services you want to expose externally. If you're thinking about content services, maybe sharing a particular site, a particular folder, particular documents, chat-based collaboration, maybe you want the person to be part of your Slack group and be part of that collaboration, being able to chat with your internal staff, with your vendors, or maybe just an enterprise social network like Yammer, where you've created
This
a group.
is a
You've
demonstration
created a
of
social and sports
Wirecast.
group, and there's a company just beside your door that you want to bring along and share information with them. And very important, I think, these days is to avoid any complications, any blockages to this sharing. So if bringing along one of your partners actually has a big cost, and you actually have to pay all their licenses, that's a blocker for collaboration as well. So thinking about, so when we go through these scenarios, another thing is you want to keep it secure.
This is a
So
demonstration of
instead of sending
Wirecast.
when we think about sending a document via an attachment, if you make a mistake and send to the wrong person, and if you send it as an attachment, there really isn't, you can try to get the mail back, but that doesn't really work so well, does it? So there isn't really a way to control it. So if someone by accident, if you're not controlling all the outbound email, if someone by accident sends your business strategy document to the wrong Brian, there you go. You can call Brian and
This
say,
is a
can you delete it
demonstration
without
of
opening it?
Wirecast.
That's still challenging. So if you actually use the system, if you think about your business scenario, and you see, okay, there's actually a business reason for me to share this document, and you're able to keep it secure. So first of all, the person can collaborate directly there. You don't have to keep multiple versions of the same document, or get two people make some changes to the document, get both versions back, and then someone has to join them together. But also you can revoke the access at any point.
This is a demonstration of
They're working on the
Wirecast.
system, you realize I've made a mistake, revoke, and that's it. They no longer have access to it. If you realize immediately, you just revoke it. And actually most systems now will notify you if the user has opened it. So you have all the statistics behind it. Well, on email, not really. You've sent it, you've asked them to delete, but what they do with it, you don't know. So if there's a link and the system supporting that, you are in control of it. In terms of internal
This is a
sharing,
demonstration
it's
of
also important when you're
Wirecast.
working with whoever you are working with to make it easy for them to go into your team. It might be from a different business area, but you want to include them in the conversation. And actually, you might want someone in their team to be collaborating as well. So you might want to be sharing a link in a way that they can then effortlessly share it with a person in their team, maybe delegate that task, and still everyone collaborating. And you're still in control because you get notifications, you share it with
This
Brian,
is a
but now
demonstration of
John is also
Wirecast.
working on it, and you are aware, seeing all the changes. And once again, if you need to bring it back to security, that's a major benefit to having it on the system. And you're always in control, so if you don't want it to be shared with someone else externally, you can tell that, you can configure the system. So if Brian then decides on his own, actually I should be sending this to someone else, the system might actually
This
block
is
that.
a demonstration of Wirecast.
The big case scenario that I'm seeing is external sharing, as we've been talking. So Mr. Bond doesn't want to appear. If you're working on a very secure document, you want only one person, a particular person to access it. That's a very big
This is a
case
demonstration
that
of
we have. Let's say
Wirecast.
that example I was saying with the lawyer firm. You're sharing a particular document with your lawyer. You don't want anyone else to see it. So that's a big business scenario as well. Sharing a document, as I mentioned. And what we're seeing more and more is having people coming along and joining an external group, joining a group as an external person and still being able to collaborate on that. On Office 365, that's quite interestingly, you can add guest accounts to your environment. There's no
This
extra
is a
cost.
demonstration
And actually
of
then you're able to
Wirecast.
see when those people have logged in, what actions they've taken on your files, what changes. So once again, you're controlling the situation. In practice, one of the big improvements they've made recently is actually you can have codes. So when you share a link, this is the interface you have on Office 365, not just on Office 365, but across all the products. So they're trying to bring this experience across all the elements if you're using Office or if you're using whatever product you're using.
This is a
And
demonstration
you're also, if you're
of
sharing it
Wirecast.
externally, what happens is you can lock it to a particular email, which means only that person gets that link. And when that person opens, there will actually be an extra validation step where they get a particular code, and they have to enter the code in order to access that document. There's a lot more in Office 365. A big one is data loss prevention, so you can actually have some machine learning, some AI, some policies on the background, checking, for instance, a big one is for
This is a
GDPR.
demonstration
There's a
of
number of
Wirecast.
policies that you can apply to identify personally identifiable information. And whenever if it identifies a particular format of data, let's say credit cards more than X amount of times, automatically labels it as a sensitive document, and you can apply some policies. You can say it can't be shared externally, so it has minimum of 3 credit cards, so I cannot share it externally. And there's a number of other threat intelligence, multi-factor
This is a
authentication,
demonstration
privilege
of
identity management,
Wirecast.
which is quite interesting. You can actually do administration on demand. So you can say this person will be my admin, but you can time bomb it. So it can only for an hour, 1 to 72 hours. I'm going to give for a period of time access to this person to admin my system. And that's it. I don't want to go over my time as well. I'm sure. I hope you got a different perspective on security as well. I think this is expanding your digital workplace ecosystem is something key in the next few years, including your partners and your customers in the cycle, and empower your workforce to achieve more, to be agile. Don't be afraid of shadow IT. So I know that some of the statistics are quite scary, with 80% of people of managers not actually not having a notion of all the applications that are used across their users. But still, it's a great opportunity for
This
people
is
in
a
IT to go
demonstration
working with
of
security,
Wirecast.
to enable people to work better. As millennials come along, we've all heard about the consumerization of IT. We've all feeling it, when you're working on your mobile, you have all these apps, this rich ecosystem, and people expect it in when they go to their workplace to have the same level of experience. And it is really possible to do this securely, in a much, without having to use email, doing it in a much better way, and still be in control of it. And it's important to always set
Demonstration of
up
Wirecast.
a good set of policies and a good governance plan to make sure that we enable the business and do it securely at the same time, because data breaches are very common, and a lot of times it will be accidentally done by one of your business users, you know. So we invest so much time securing the systems that sometimes we forget the human element, which I think is fundamental as well. You know, some people might lose their laptop and actually they have copied a number of files to work at home, and now suddenly you've invested so much to secure your
Demonstration
IT
of
environment,
Wirecast.
and they left their laptop somewhere and now someone has your data. So I hope that was useful. If anyone has any questions. All good. Everyone ready for another day?
I think that's actually an excellent idea. Would anyone like to grab a drink before our next speaker starts?
I'll grab it.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Yeah.
So, take a minute to grab something and we'll make the next set of slides lined up. Yeah, I've got that book here.
Watch.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So he said like he finished in like the bottom for a second.
That we're taking a break? Can you take that we are taking a break? Yeah, but we have to do
That was fine. You still
There's like a message. I know.
It's just a break.
Yeah, we are happy. We still have 2 more presentations to go, but we are happy.
The food is on 9 o'clock.
Yeah, at 9. Don't worry. It's just 3 more presentations.
I know the presentation.
Right. Oh, yeah, Jason.
Things to compare.